welcome all the panelists. I think I still can't see everyone on the screen. So, Sakshi, Mayank, uh, if you could just switch yourselves on, then, we kick off here. So thank you for joining us today. 30 Under 30 is one of our premier IPs. It recognizes young, successful innovators, business people, and business professionals. And the panel that we have today are all successful in their own right. So I'm happy to welcome all of them onto this panel. Today we're going to be talking about how competitive edge, or the way some people call it, a moat, is developed for businesses, and how that helps differentiate ourselves from the competition. So today I have Sakshi, Anant, Mayank, and Rahul on this panel. Just to kick off quickly, let's go around the table, have them introduce themselves. We'd like to learn a little more about you and your journey, and what's led you to this path of success so early in your career. So let's kick off with Sakshi.
Thank you, Prasar, for the lovely introduction. So a bit about myself. So I come from a background in healthcare, and I definitely realized that there is a gap in the market for in terms of chronic diseases and their management. And that's how we got to start Nucros Science and Taste back in 2020. Nucros is a new age food and beverage provider with a single aim of helping people realize their health goals through the food we eat. So, we consider food as medicines, in this era where people have started considering medicines as food. So our aim is to basically help people reverse health conditions such as diabetes, PCOS, a lot of women's health conditions such as fertility, pregnancy, lactation, helping them boost their metabolism and weight management, among a few.
All right, thank you, Sakshi, for that quick and insightful introduction. Let's go to Anant. Anant, let's hear a little bit about you and your journey.
Thanks, Prasar. So I'll start with my educational background. I've studied my chartered accountancy and company secretary, along with my bachelor's in financial markets from HR. We started this about five and a half years ago. It's a bootstrap at tech firm, and we started this with zero capital. Today we have about 3 centers across the country, which is Mumbai, Pune, and we have Mumbai, Pune, and Delhi. We train approximately over 10,000 students a year. Our core differentiator has been experiential learning, which is basically hands-on application learning. The learning which we saw, the pedagogy which was happening across the country, was very, very theoretical, rote learning based, and we wanted to change that. Coming from a financial markets background, we didn't know how to invest in the markets per se. So we had to change the way people looked at that. We got a lot of international professional qualifications into the country. Apart from that, a little bit about me is that I love sports. I'm an Olympic race worker for the Maharashtra state, and I play a lot of chess. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Over to you, Prasad.
Sure. Thanks. Very interesting. Olympic walking is something that is a sport that used to interest me as a kid, but I think I lost that. And chess is something I really don't have patience for. But so if we ever run into each other, it's going to be like diametrically opposite stuff. But nevertheless, I'm sure very interesting. Now let's hear a little bit from you about your journey, your success.
Glad to be present over here. So I am founder and CEO of Singularity AI Labs. We enable Fortune 500 companies and technological startups around the globe to transform their businesses through data science and AI. We have already kind of developed some plug and play models like a deep learning based recommendation engine, dynamic pricing for revenue management. We have NLP powered conversational science. We have image decoders and personalization in marketing analytics. With this, we also design custom-based AI systems and solutions for some of the clients. So we would like to kind of expand our services to various geographies and kind of develop and design SaaS-based product related to AI and data science.
Very interesting. I think that's the way to go these days. And I think while we wish you success, we hope you don't succeed enough to eliminate all of us. So let's hope so. But anyways, let's jump into the topic. Like I was saying when we just kicked off that, when you're building a new business or even helping build a new business, one of the key things that's important is to have competitive edge. There are various words that are used. VCs love to use the word moat. Is the business books call it USP. But every business has that something that differentiates and keeps them ahead of competition. What is it that in your businesses you've been able to do that has kept you ahead of the business? Let's kick off again with Sakshi. If you could talk us through what is it that you did differently or you're doing differently that's keeping you ahead of competition.
Thanks, Prasar. I think that's a great question to start with, and I think from the outset you would seem right. Food is, I think, an easily replicable business, right? It's nothing, no, it's not a rocket science. But what really has, I think, made us inimitable is one of the factors that we have created very intricate processes. While all our competitors are moving towards standardization, we are moving away from it, because in the end we realize, right, like a diet is not a one size fits all approach. We need, everyone needs extremely personalized recommendations based on their health condition, their biometrics, they need their different health parameters, their lipid profile. So what we've done is we've created a very intricate platform where we are able to profile each customer and provide a kind of an automated solution, which cuts down on our time to process those. Right. So if someone takes 2 days, we are able to turn it around in 6 hours. We're able to start someone's subscription, say, from tomorrow itself. We don't need to wait for 2 days to wait for, we have we're the only ones who have included blood test monitoring in our success parameters. Every client goes through blood test monitoring, their health parameters are constantly monitored. And that's, I think, one of the key reasons that's given us a competitive edge in this market. How to keep it going forward? Of course, I think in the span of 1 year itself, we have come a long way. Of course, due to the pandemic, I think everyone realizes, right, that health is so important. I think it couldn't have been a better time for us, of course. And even though that's fueled our growth, and when we started off with maybe, say, serving around 1,200 meals per month. We've come a long way to serving around 17,000 meals per month. And we have with the kind of market that we're serving, right? We are serving, say, diabetes management. It's a huge market. India's diabetes capital, right? So we have around 30% of Indians suffering from chronic diseases. And so we are looking to maybe scale to another 1.2 lakh meals per month, serving in another 6 months or so.
Excellent, Sakshi. So I do have one question there, though. It goes diametrically opposite to actually the question that we're talking about, or probably even the theme, right? When you go and sit in front of investors, they have their own processes, and they'll typically talk about a cookie cutter model. And now, from what I hear, you differentiate on a customer to customer basis. Even though I see that you've scaled up probably 15x in a very short period. So how do you address that, right? Because when you go to the market, whether it's to private investors or to the public market, hopefully, people will always look at rapid scalability. So how do you address that already? And second part to that, are you relying on technology for monitoring, for example, the blood profile, etc., of your customers?
Definitely. Of course, we do rely on, we have our own automated profiling tool, which, where we have already we have 7 or 8 labs where the results are processed from, which are synthesized into our integrated platform, which automates results, cutting down on human, any interaction as such, as in say, suppose if there is a client, who has a certain cholesterol and a certain, say, kidney profile, so their LFT or KFT is a certain level. So then, automatically the diet is recommended, then it cuts down on the macros, I think. And it's a very, very integrated and calculated macros platform, which automatically calculates the meals going forward. So I think it's something that, even though it seems very personalized, I think we have made it a business that it's easily sort of, in terms of, say, when it comes to scaling up, it's very easy to do. So I think that would address concerns of private investors also, right? Though, of course, a cookie cutter model is, an ideal, right? And in the end, even if we look at it, we look at like, okay, of course, there is a personalized segment. There is probably a segment which would do well with, say, a standardized product, right? So we do, of course, think about, say, going into retail, right? Which would have, say, a standardized certain products which are served, across the nation. So, of course, that is the plan. That, right, you have to.
Great, interesting. I think Sakshi's frozen there a little bit. So, but good insights. I think let's quickly move on to Anant. So, Anant, you're in a field that obviously is, thanks to the pandemic, in part exploding, right? What do you see yourself, doing in order to stay ahead of the competition? What is it that one thing that gives you the competitive edge?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question which we get asked almost on a daily basis, and we've always had a thought leadership that experiential learning, which is, you can't learn cricket through a book, in my opinion. You need to be on the pitch. You need to understand there are more and more pressurized conditions. The same way, if you're learning to work or we're building a more skilled workforce for the country, we need for them to understand what happens on the job, and they need to understand this. I studied my chartered accountancy and I didn't want to work as a chartered accountant. That was, after putting in, I don't know how many hours, and I had the realization late in my life that, there's something, entrepreneurship is something what could be cut out for me. So we had the model of experiential learning always going at the back of our head. But how do you make it to a scalable model was a question. So we developed a very interactive learning management software, which we built from scratch. And what that did was that allowed students across the country to be able to come on the platform and learn and go from 0 to 1. And going from 0 to 1 was the main problem which people across the country had. So we were able to address that in a very small way initially. So when I still remember going to because we bootstrapped the company. I remember going to colleges and just pitching the idea, and without zero marketing dollars, we were able to get about 1,000 people across a few months taking up the programs, and that led us to believe that there's something better for us to do and make a change. I think Rahul, Sakshi both will understand that the 0 to 1, the knowledge gap, because we're creating essentially a new product space that's difficult to address to the market. So we had to be creative with our marketing. So we were able to understand that marketing would begin right in the school segment. We use tech to be able to penetrate the school segment by having a lot of competitions where experiential learning could come at the forefront. You can't learn how to fly a drone through a textbook. So we were able to get the financial markets rolling. We today have a tie-up with IIFL and a lot of our customers would go on and have that platform to be able to trade easily. Apart from that, we got a lot of international professional qualifications, which had penetration globally, acceptance globally to come to the country, and to be able and to be impart it at a cost sensitive, a normal. It wasn't very expensive to do the education, so across the country, we were able to penetrate very easily because of this, and because jobs were readily available for a lot of them, and companies were willing to come to us. So we didn't have that problem. Today a lot of people want to make programs, and then they go to companies and they say, take it. But for us, it was the other way around, because we were really skilling them, and a lot of companies were coming on as knowledge partners, etc. So it was very easy for us to start up per se. First 2 years, obviously, the first $20 million is always the most difficult bit, but that was the easy part. That was a fun part actually for us to reach to. So the only problem is to be able to get to and penetrate to more and more people. And I think we're on an average we train about 10,000 students to 12,000 students a year, and we're aiming at. And like you said, the pandemic obviously gave a huge impetus to our industry, which necessarily wasn't the case because exams weren't happening. So, we had to be very creative for people to understand, to invest in us through and take our education programs at a time when, they aren't readily, students aren't readily available, the exams aren't happening. So because the nature of the exams were international, the exams kept happening through and through again through tech again. And I mean, we've seen a huge growth, but I think the best is yet to come again for us.
Great, great, very, very interesting to hear that, Anant. I think it's a season for your domain. So let's hope that you keep scaling up and beating the competition out. But let's move to Rahul. Rahul, I think you're in a very interesting space, right? It's in a way quite the opposite of the way the action is happening in the edtech space, for example. Of course, it's a hot space, but people are still a little bit on the fence about where AI is going to take us. So while you do. While we'd also like to understand, what your competitive edge is, how is it also impacted by the fact that there's still no real clarity in direction as far as what AI and similar emerging technologies are going to be able to do for us? We'd love to hear on that.
Great point, Prasar. So first of all, let me talk about some of the differentiating factor, and then we'll take forward that what all are the use cases where the AI has kind of established themselves, and what all are the places where they would kind of take some bit of time to reach the pinnacle. So talking about some of the learnings that we had, I'll kind of begin by having our first principle kind of intact, that listening to customers is very important. In our case, it would be listening to clients. Now, let me go back in time. When we started, we thought that we would be 100% SaaS-based AI model. But while we were going to various clients, we very soon realized that it may so happen that the offerings that we are doing might not kind of fulfill their own requirement. And they told that this is good. Can you actually solve some of the other bit of their AI related problems? So be agile at the forefront of the business in the times like this, when the environment is changing a lot. Gives a very high competitive edge. The second point, Prasar, over here is that because of pandemic, I think the world has become superconductor, where a great idea is being followed from one place to another very soon, very quickly. So while you are building up any of the product, any of the services, we have to think global right from day one. We haven't thought, but if we see last 1.5 years of our existence, 100% of our revenue is coming up from global clients, which we have never anticipated. It is like countries like US, UK, Brazil, Mexico, who are kind of coming up with more new use cases, and we are able to kind of serve them because we had thought that we would be able to cater ourselves with the global clients right from day one. So I think this interconnectedness, which has triggered kind of remote collaboration, which has bypassed the cultural boundaries, is kind of a moat which newer companies can actually look forward to. The third point, Prasad, that I feel is very important in creating a competitive edge, and we have kind of followed it up again from our first month itself. This is coming up from a fact, Prasad, that this is my second venture as an entrepreneur. The first one at a B2C startup named ClickFast got acquired by Oyodooms in 2016, which is that revenue from loyal customers is much better than any kind of funding, external funding. Now, if your CAC, which is cost of acquisition, is higher, if your LTV is lower, if the attrition rate is lower, you won't be kind of able to survive for a longer period of time. So we have to look forward for the revenue model, look forward for the profitability model right from while you are ideating the concept in your mind. So I think I would always prefer a revenue over a GMV, a profitability percentage over a revenue, a cash in bank, a cash flow more than profitability percentage. So these metrics should be crystal clear. We have tried to follow this up in last 1.5 years of our existence, and that is what has kind of differentiated us from others. Now, talking about Prasar, your second part of the journey, which is that there are places where AI has created a clear impact, and there are another kind of places where we have to kind of grow a lot. And let me take few examples. There was a time, Prasar, when if you have an offline business, you just put it online. That is called as the IT boom, and you'll see a uptake in the demand. because there are few people who are available online, there are another few who are offline, and there is a clear demarcation between that. But as we know, as the geo has come up, as the number of internet penetration in India has increased, as you are going online, you have to also create some bit of extra difference between your business. Now, if any of the let's say a new cab company starting, they cannot work on static price. They have to imbibe technologies like dynamic pricing to grow themselves. If there is a hotel that want to kind of enroll themselves online, it's not just the online portal which will start to give you demand, because there are lots and lots of hotels that is coming in. Now you have to use some bit of image science to further improvise it. Let's take an example of what's going into the market right now, healthcare. Now, recently we internally are kind of designing some softwares related to the radiologist, and we came forward with this very interesting anecdote that a radiologist in his lifetime has seen, let's say, in his lifetime at perhaps the end of his career of a 40 year, would have seen around 25,000 to like a 30,000 X-rays in his lifetime. And while we are training our machines, it is like 1 million to 5 million X-rays are kind of fed into the machine in the first day or first week itself. So the intelligence or the accuracy which a X-ray is able to kind of predict that there is a likelihood of a cancerous cell coming in is much more higher than a doctor. So there are areas where like we are clear ahead of a human being kind of giving an output and a machine giving an output. But of course, there are areas like a software aspect, which is kind of machines are kind of still learning to kind of match it up to the level of a human.
Wonderful. I think, every time I hear somebody talking about an AI-based solution, it's always fun to imagine. I must give this anecdote to people. About 4 years ago, I had, as a part of something that I was doing, the head of Microsoft's deep learning project, Dr. Sayan Pathak, who's also one of the deans at IIT Kharagpur, and earlier he was heading the Allen Institute for AI, Paul Allen's Institute. And he's a medical doctor who decided to get into coding. And he was in a room full of academics, and he said that look, and this is I think 2018. He said in 10 years there will be no doctors, right? Because part of what you're saying, but he said that you just prick your finger, not even like prick a piece of blood. You just scrape your finger and put it into a machine, and there'll be no medicines that will be packaged. The machine will figure out what formulation needs to be made for you, and some factory somewhere will just manufacture and send it to you. So yeah, I think fascinating stuff. But it's always fascinating to understand. And amongst the panelists, we have such a diverse set of focuses that it gives us these brilliant insights. So while we're on that, now let's come back to Sakshi. So Sakshi, we did hear about how you are doing this very differently, right? But at the end of the day, the differentiation is just one factor in what you do, right? So we have to also ultimately then measure the impact that differentiation has had on your business. So when you compare yourself to the competitors, compare yourself to maybe startups who've come into being over the last few years, or even established players against whom you're competing, how much of a difference do you think your competitive edge has given you, the differentiation that you bring to the market? How much has it impacted? Where would you have been had you not had that specific competitive edge?
Great question, Prasar. It's interesting to think about my journey to here. You mentioned what would I have been doing if not this. So it's incredibly interesting how I actually started this venture. It's because when I had graduated, I graduated from Singapore Management University, and I graduated with a business management degree. The most confusing part, for any young person at that age is, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? There are many ways you can do. You can enter different industries, and I think what was unique to me was, of course, that my background in healthcare. Both my parents are doctors, and I've always among my friends also, I've always also been called a half doctor, a girl who is too knowledgeable for her age, and unfortunately, and I don't know if unfortunate or not, but it's my friends would ask me for their prescription. So definitely that did help me. And then I think my progression, I got into consulting. And then, because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with my life then. And then, surprisingly, even in terms of consulting, I was always given healthcare projects. And then after that, I've started across, say, worked with healthcare hospitals, and I worked with medical device manufacturers. I worked with pharmaceutical companies, and automatically, that's the time when I realized there was this gap. That's the time when I was working with pharmaceutical companies, I realized that so many health conditions can actually be just managed with a diet alone. You really don't require medicines for them, and it's kind of being like. We're kind of going retrograde here. We're kind of, you just mentioned, a prick of a finger, the medicine is done, right? I am kind of going back into it, like going back towards our ancestors, how they used to manage. And so it's definitely been an interesting journey for me. And I think what's unique to me for also, and might be difficult for competitors, is that I when I realized that this was my calling, I've invested a lot of my energy, right? I think as an entrepreneur, you really have to put in your all. Because I thought I wanted to get into food, I did go to Le Cordon Bleu, the top culinary institute of the world, learn cooking myself, because I think I realized as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to juggle all hats. You need to know every part of your business very well, and what is your value proposition that you're giving. If I know that I'm giving food, but I know that I'm not just giving food, I'm giving tasty food with health. It's a unique proposition which is very difficult for all to replicate. It's so I think that's what sets us apart. We are also going forward because of our unique background and having a team of doctors, chefs, and nutritionists. We have been able to move forward. It's an evolving process, right? And I think, as Rahul also mentioned, I think it's very important for a business to be agile all the time. So what we are now getting into is something not many people are very familiar with. It's nutrigenomics. So we are entering into DNA-based nutrition now, and we are doing DNA samples, and which tell you, right, do a predictive analytics about where your health is going. What are you a fat metabolizer? Are you a carbohydrate metabolizer? What diet suits you? What are you possibly allergic to? What's your your risk for getting diabetes? So we're going into towards that sort of an arena, and I think that's what will give us that edge apart from all the people who are coming into this market.
Sure. Very great insights, Sakshi. I think, though I must tell you that I knew one other person who was exactly like you. Both parents doctors and dishing out prescriptions all the time, and to you as to that person, I would say thank God both of you are not in the US, because you would be in jail. So but good stuff. I think nutrigenomics is something that that I think has a very bright future, and I think we're glad that entrepreneurs in India are picking up stuff like AI and nutrigenomics and DNA based profiling. I think it's got a long way to go, and I hope we see people finding good results out of that kind of approach soon. We have Mayank finally on the panel, so we're going to rush through an introduction with Mayank and let him tell us what his competitive edge is before we return back to the flow of the panel.
I'm extremely sorry. I guess there is a technical glitch. It's been almost half an hour since I'm trying. I did my level best. I guess I don't want to waste even a single second right now, because even a single second matters to all of us. I'm extremely sorry, first of all. I have no clue why I wasn't able to join it. But
no, it's all right, Mayank. I think all of us are slaves to technology since the last year and a half, and I think
it happened today itself.
Yeah, people like Rahul are working hard on eliminating us.
But it happened. Why only today? I was supposed to interact with you guys. In fact, I was able to hear my co-PS, all the three of you, in the starting, but I wasn't able to have the access of video.
Yeah. But I think we are keen on hearing you. So tell us about your journey. Tell us what sets you apart, and how it's making a difference in your business.
First of all, thank you, Prasar, for inviting me for this panel discussion. I am Mayank Kapoor. I'm a real estate builder and developer based in Madhya Pradesh. My company's name is Krishna Homes, and I'm MD of it. So basically, I started my journey when I was in school. I mean, it's a family business. It's been for almost 5 years that I have taken the role of, taking the charge of the company. But I joined the company during my school days itself. I used to come back from school in the afternoon, and I would go to my sites, my construction sites, and would see how much a labor is actually working per day. How much does they need time to break a wall or to break a room, or to build a room, or maybe how much quantity of cement or sand or steel is being used. But over the period of years, when I joined, I did civil engineering, and during my MTech, I realized how am I building the next kind of residential covered campuses. It has to be something cutting edge so that I can actually create a blue ocean strategy. I've always been an ardent follower of blue ocean strategy, so I thought that I have to bring a sustainable business model. And what is better than building as per the norms of GREHA, LED, and Indian Green Building Code to build a green building covered campuses. So that was my forte. I started working on creating a building envelope so that you can actually have an ecosystem where people are actually living with daylight, with a better air quality index. They are saving 30 to 40% of energy savings by using renewable resources aptly and efficiently with proper rainwater harvesting systems and solar lighting. And even we went way ahead, and we had monitored basis of using what Rahul is actually must be knowing regarding the artificial intelligence basic systems, which you can monitor the water consumptions. And each resident or the occupant is being able to save 30 to 40% in energies and 20 to 30% in water savings, which is equivalent to what they can actually give back to the society for residential welfare management. So these systems actually created a very like a healthy environment for green building. But during when I was building this thing, the campus, I realized that this is not one of the most affordable ones, and it was a myth that green buildings actually cost 100 or 200 rupees per square feet more. So to eradicate this kind of myth, I took the agile concept of the business model, where I used innovative design process to use the grids and columns of the buildings planned in a way that there is no wastage of square feet in energy in the flat. So suppose if there is 1500 square feet area of a flat built up area, uh, anyone, if you guys are residing in a like apartment, not a villa, then you will find that if you will measure it by the system, there will be a wastage of 150 to 200 square feet of the flat in a safe size of 1500. If the collector guideline rates is around 3000 to 4000 rupees, then the equivalent is that you are paying 6 to 8 lakh rupees for what you are not even using it. I mean, that square feet is not being utilized, but you paid 8 lakh rupees for it. So I realized that if I use the columns and grid in a very economically feasible model of the building, that the grids and the columns are placed in such a way each and every place is being utilized. So the myth will be eradicated that green buildings are costly. In fact, I have saved the 6 to 8 lakh rupees of a person because he is using all the area which in a very productive way. During this time, I also realized what am I doing for the people who are below poverty line, or people who are from economically weaker section. Those people who in Madhya Pradesh are more than 70% in our state, and for them there was no proper houses system. They used to live in chawl or slum areas, and definitely that is not how you can see the building of the nation. And I always have been a voucher for the nation building. It's not just building through the bricks and mortar. It is basically through the values and the culture system you can actually create for your customers, for your clients, for your occupants. And how is that so? By providing proper sanitation, proper hygienic area, 24/7 electricity, proper lush green facilities for the people who are buying 4.5 lakh rupees flats. That's the most affordable flats in India, and providing them Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana subsidy of 2.57 lakh rupees. So ultimately, the flat costed them 1.90 lakh rupees. And when they took a loan from SBI, we provided, we built the gap. Basically, we bridged the gap for them to provide them the loan. So now 1900 rupees per month, they are actually creating an asset for themselves who used to live in chawl or kacha houses. And after 10 years, it will be their house. And earlier on, they used to pay 3000 rupees per month for kacha house or chawl, and they would never create an asset for themselves in a very unhygienic places where we won't find healthy lifestyle. So that's how I started it.
Wonderful. I think that gives us an additional, very interesting perspective added to the panel. All these discussions that we have, we always get into these deep, fascinating discussions, and then we realize that there's somebody at the back of our head saying that time's about to be up. So we will quickly go through the panel. Anant and Rahul, if you could talk us through quickly in 2 minutes each about how the competitive edge has made a difference to your business, and also how you're going to keep it up. And then we'll just spend 30 seconds each with Mayank and Sakshi to understand how they're going to keep it up with their competitive edge before we wind up, and before somebody sends a stick my way.
So again, experiential learning for us was the forefront of how we can change the way education could be looked at, and we're very we have to change the way education was being taught in the schools and colleges to what it can be for the future. So application learning or learning on the job is something which people can also understand how they would be working in that particular field for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of their lives. So we're essentially saving a lot of their time, and it's given us a great competitive edge. Because when we started up, it was we put 18 grand in the business, and we had competitors who were multi-million-dollar funded businesses. So we had to be innovative in that sphere, and that's how we attracted people. Right from coding our own website to be able to understand, having zero competitors up there, we were still showing up on the 7th page. So we had to be creative and in a lot of ways, and ensure that the quality of education, which is actually what people appreciate with us, was top notch. So yeah, it's given us an immense competitive edge. Well, it saved us a lot of marketing dollars, but at the same time, it's helped a lot of people understand how they would be working in that particular sector, and it saved them a lot of their it's helped them understand 5 years into the future how that would be working for them. So yeah, we found a very nice niche, and we've captured it really well. So like you said, it's the age of edtech at this point of time, but we started this about 6 years ago, and since then till now, we've been able to keep the other incumbents, which are the Baijus and the Unacademies, at bay. So that's a little bit of our competitive edge. Over to you, Rahul.
Great, thanks, Anant. Rahul.
Thank you, Anant. Thank you, Prasar. So I think our competitive edge is coming up from a fact that we are kind of catering to the global audiences. So I believe that 1990s was the age of IT, where India has kind of outshined itself into the entire world, creating $100 billion of business, sitting over here and kind of creating millions of employment opportunities. We believe that this particular decade would be the era of AI and data science, with kind of India leading to the forefront. And because we have already kind of on the bus of catering to the global businesses, we believe that we would be able to create much better impact, not only to the clients, but also to our country as a nation, as bringing in dollars, bringing in like foreign currency, and creating employment over there.
Sure, thanks, Rahul. As long as Terminator doesn't come true, we are all with you. But jokes apart, I think, Sakshi, if we could hear in 30 seconds from you, what is it that you're going to keep that competitive edge going and stay ahead of the competition?
Yeah, thanks, Prasar. I think in the end, I think it's the most important thing is to, always keep your brand very customer focused. It's very easy for an entrepreneur to get lost and, start cutting down on costs, or, start cutting on their prices to increasingly quickly scale. So I think what we have always tried to do is try to make it a brand that is about our customers, right? So we know that, of course, we don't want to cut down on costs. We want to make sure that we are giving very good quality food. We use top quality almonds, organic products in our product. So I think that will, of course, give us the competitive edge, right? And just making sure that we have great feedback channels and we're able to constantly evolve and stay ahead of the trend.
All right. So I think a wonderful discussion. Like I said, these discussions always do end up halfway because.
Sorry to interrupt you. There is some network issue.
Yeah, Mayank, we are unable to hear you at all. So, and I think there are people pointing guns and sticks at me now. So I think we need to quickly wrap up. Thank you everyone for being here today.
I'm extremely sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, no worries at all, man. It happens to all of us.
Prasad, just kindly
But you
allow
know,
me 30 seconds.
we'd
There were
love
some
to
network issues.
we'd love to see you all back again very soon. I think this discussion remains unfinished, but so we will figure out a way of having you guys back soon again, and hope to see you successful and in the news in the near future and for a long time to come. And thank you for being here today.